So far, we have covered theoretical aspects of impact evaluation. In this section, we'll go over some practical advice for planning and carrying out an impact evaluation. First, we'll go over what you should do before actually starting an evaluation. Then, we'll discuss how to get the timing of an evaluation right. We will also cover some issues regarding the development of survey instruments and how to select the appropriate sample. Then, we'll go through the process step by step, from conducting a baseline survey to tracking the participants for the upcoming survey after the program has finished, all the way to conducting the follow-up survey based on which you determine if and how your project actually worked. At the end, we give some ideas of where to look for funding, since an impact evaluation can be a quite costly endeavor. After deciding that it is worthwhile to conduct an impact evaluation, the next step is to carefully consider the precise way in which the program might affect the target population, beginning with the project inputs and finally ending with the outcomes realized by the target population. The product of this deductive exercise is the results chain. This is a linked set of conditions that are necessary to fulfill in order for the project to be a success. After identifying what might go wrong with the project, these issues should be monitored in all phases in order to identify possible mistakes. If you are able to see at which point the program has failed, then it may be able to be improved in the future. The results chain helps in identifying outcome indicators, and these can be measured using appropriate questions in the questionnaire. Next, we turn to the timing of impact evaluations. The following table sketches out a suggested timeline for a simple impact evaluation of a project that's not too complicated. Although program evaluations are conceptually distinct from other components of the project, note that planning the evaluation is aligned with the planning phase of the project itself. Most importantly, you should note that the baseline survey must be conducted before the project actually starts, and, if possible, before the participants learn about the project, so that the baseline results are not biased by this knowledge. The second point to note is that there might be more than one follow-up survey. The first follow-up should be conducted sometime after the program is over, when a sufficient amount of time has passed for the participants to actually benefit from it. Any subsequent follow-up study is to confirm that your project has lasting benefits on the lives of the beneficiaries. Third, a thorough analysis of the data resulting in a report should not only be conducted at the end of the program, when the evaluation report is written, but also after conducting the baseline survey. We will raise all 3 points in more details in the following sections. In the timeline from the previous slide, the example stated that it took about 1 month to plan an evaluation. However, this is just an example. The preparations for an evaluation may be a lengthy process. It includes designing an evaluation, selecting a proper control and treatment group, designing a questionnaire, translations, selecting and training a team of enumerators, testing the questionnaire, and carrying out a baseline survey. Please see the supplementary materials for an example of a real-life timeline in the document from Blotman, Fila, and Martinez, 2011. As we've discussed, it is wise to conduct the baseline survey before the project is even announced. When planning the follow-up, you should have a clear idea as to when you expect results to materialize. Is it immediate, Or do you have to wait another year for the harvest, etc.? Or possibly you need to wait several years, for example, for young people in the program to complete school and start working. An important thing to keep in mind here is that changing seasons might influence the outcome of a program. It is obvious for agriculture, but it might be valid for other projects as well. Consider planning both the baseline and follow-up surveys at a similar time of the year. Regarding who to select for an evaluation, start with the broadest group possible, the population of interest, which means the people who are eligible for the program in the area. Ideally, you should obtain a list of people in the targeted villages, and also in villages that serve as a prospective control group. From these lists, you can select eligible individuals or households, and then select a subsample of these people to include in the evaluation. We explain how to determine the appropriate number of participants in the course on data analysis. If you're running a randomized control trial, it is at this point that the control and treatment groups should be selected. Developing a survey is a tricky thing. Often, it is advised to hire an expert on surveying techniques, or at least to consult existing surveys from the same region conducted by respected organizations. For example, the World Bank has published a great handbook devoted to data collection in developing countries. That handbook contains many practical examples of survey questions. You can find that in the materials attached to this unit. When developing a survey, it is obviously important to include all the indicators that are required for measuring the outcomes of that program. You can refer to the log frame and results chain as a reference. However, more data is not always better. Including too many questions can make it more costly to collect data, and you can also wear out respondents, which makes all of the data less reliable. After drafting the first version of the questionnaire, it's advisable to test it on real people before you invest in going full scale. The first round might consist just of your local colleagues in the office in order to detect possible culturally sensitive parts or to find out alternative options in a multiple choice question. The next step is to run a pilot on people who are similar to clients to make sure that they understand the questions and that they provide answers that appear on the multiple choice lists. This will make things easier later on. You should also ask if they felt exhausted by the length of the survey. Then you can adjust the survey accordingly. After preparing the materials, a team of enumerators will be required to administer the survey. After training the team, then the fieldwork can begin. Especially for larger surveys, it's advisable to write out instructions for administering the survey in a manual. The manual should lay out instructions for selecting survey respondents and also how to conduct interviews. For example, if the questionnaire includes multiple choice questions, the survey manual should provide the enumerators detailed instructions for coding the responses. If the design calls for multiple waves of surveys, the survey manual should detail how contact information should be collected, and enumerators should be instructed to collect tips on how to find individual respondents for follow-up surveys. Importantly, the manual and training should provide instructions for how to approach people in a polite manner and how to ask them sensitive questions. Your organization's reputation depends on this, and it's also essential for ensuring that the data collected is accurate. Last but not least, you should also give advice on how to report problems in a systematic way. This helps you tremendously with understanding some anomalies in the data when analyzing it. It's also a good idea to number the questions in a questionnaire clearly for orientation.